Good afternoon, it's Jeremy. It's Wednesday, September the 18th. Today I want to look at a fantastic program called Radio Mobile. Recently I was reading a research paper about the difference between various propagation models, and in that paper the researchers mentioned using the Radio Mobile program. Now I've heard of it before, but I never got a chance to use it, so what I decided to do was to download it and learn how to use it. And to learn how to use it, what I'm doing is I'm going to use previous examples. For instance, back in 2020, I did a study of marine propagation. So I'm going to use Radio Mobile to do the same thing. It's a little bit difficult to get into at first. However, I did find two excellent tutorials on YouTube, which really demystify everything. And there's an online version. You can be up and working with a program instantly. It's very easy to use. And the standalone version, there's the tutorial is excellent as well. I've referenced them in the blog post, and you can get up working instantly. The program has so many features. I'm only just learning it now, but I thought just to get there, I would look at stuff I've done before, and I'm just amazed at what it can do. So here's from 2020. Here's what I was doing. I was looking at the VHF range for, let's say, a VHF transceiver in a boat. And the sensitivity of the receiver was, I think, 0.22 microvolts, which you need at the receiver. That's the limit, which works out to about minus 120 dBm. So these are the various contours and distance from a transmitter. The transmitter was located here. I think it was 43.5 and minus 79.25, and this is about 100 kilometers away. So that's basically what I did. And let's go to the post here. So here are the parameters we're using. The frequency is the range 156 to 162. Transmit power 25 watts, which is 44 dBm. Sensitivity 0.22 microvolts. Incidentally, on the ICOM M605, which I'm using as a reference, there's also another sensitivity here. That's for the DSC signal, which is interesting. So to get a 1% or 1 in 100 bit error rate, you need at least 0.71 microvolts. So you need about 3 dB more signal if you want to copy the DSC signal well. So I looked at several different types of antennas, a 3 dBi and a 6 dBi. The example back in 2020, I used a pretty big antenna. I think it was 10 dBi at 20 meters. That's pretty hefty. Here are the various antenna heights. I'm using RG213, which is a better coax than RG58. It's got less loss, and there's the EIRP. So if you've got two boats and you're on the water, basically what happens is you have a line of sight to the horizon. So depending on the height of your antenna, so let's say your height is 2.5 meters on either boat, then your line of sight is about 3.5 nautical miles. If you're, let's say, 15 meters, it would be 8.6 nautical miles. Now, as long as you're within the line of sight, you have no problem communicating. But when you start to get earth bulge, in other words, as this distance increases, the earth bulges into your path, and that's where you start to get a lot of attenuation. If there's no earth bulge, then basically a 25 watt VHF radio could go for literally thousands of kilometers. But the minute you get that bulge, you get the attenuation. So in the configuration of Radio Mobile, I'm not going to go into how to set it up because, like I said, there's those two references I have go through in great detail how to do it. But the various screens, so here's the program, and what I've got set up now is what I had back in 2020. So I've got a transmitter. Now let's lower this so you can see it a little bit here. There's my transmitter sitting down there, and there's my receiver. So I'm setting it up with an antenna of 10 dBi. I've got 2.2 dB of loss, and 10 dBi and 2.2 dB of loss at the receive end. So this is exactly the same as what I had back in 2020. And you can see that I've got more at the location here, which is the same as my previous post. I've got 0.33 microvolts, so I've got more than necessary. So the range is a little bit more optimistic than it was in 2020. I got about 101 kilometers, which is like 55 nautical miles plus. Now let's change this, and we can see how easy it is to do this in radio mobile. So we go to the network properties. Now incidentally, if I look in parameters here, when you get the download version of radio mobile from Ian Brown, he set up a base network already, so I kept that because he's got all sorts of useful examples in there, so there's no point in overwriting that. And he's got network 2 and network 3. So what I called network 2 as, I did a previous experiment, a VE3 PKC repeater. That's what I'm using network 2 for. And in this example, I'm calling it Marine VHF. So in the parameters screen here, what you have to do is set up the frequencies. So 144 to 146. Okay, sorry, Marine VHF, that's where we are. So it's 156 to 162. These are the refractivity index. I'm on the climate. We're not over the ocean, which is more conductive than lake water, but I'm calling it maritime temperate over land because it's sort of liquid a little bit because we're close to the lake here. It's a mobile. I've got 90% of the time, 50% of the situations. That's this screen. The next screen are systems. So here you define your transmitter and your receiver. So there's my transmitter. And here you put in the parameters. So it's an omni antenna, 10 dB gain, 20 meters height, receiver sensitivity 0.22 microvolts, and there's my receiver. Same thing. Okay, and the other thing you have to do is you've got to define under unit properties, you've got to define where these guys are. So for the transmitter, I've got located at 43.5 north, minus 79.25 east, and the receiver, I've got it further to the east there. So there we are. So those are the screens you have to worry about. Okay, so let's look at this guy here. When you press this button, it shows you the various networks. So this is the network I want to look down here. And I'm going to do a point-to-point analysis, the radio link. Okay, so let's change this now. I'll just show you how quickly you can change this. So we'll go to network properties. And we'll look at systems here. So my transmitter, let's make this 1.3 dB. That's what I have in the parameters there. Antenna gain, let's say 6 dBi. And antenna height 10 meters. Okay, and the same thing for the receiver, 1.3 dB, 10 dBi, 6, and 10 meters. Say OK. Show the networks. Okay, so now we have the new configuration. We've got our 6 dBi antennas, antenna height 10 meters. Now notice that the full distance here, as we had before, I've only got 0.07 microvolts. But here's the nice thing. We can actually move along this line here. We can click, and we can move along the path till we get our required signal. This is a really good feature. So there we go. There's 0.22 microvolts. So it says that I can go 67 kilometers, and I'll get my 0.22 microvolts, and it shows you the path there. So this is a really cool feature. And down here, it allows you to do what ifs. You can raise the antenna heights and do various things in the menu itself. So, like I say, I'm just learning this program, but it's really, really useful, and you can get results